Oh man, I hate Mondays.
Nah, man, it's Tuesday.
Wait. What day is it?
You know what day it is? Tuesday. Brewsday, Tuesday.
Oh, fuck yeah! Grab a cold one. It's Brewsday Tuesday, brought to you by the Cellar and Six Pack Store. Here's DreZ and Big Nate.
It is indeed Brewsday Tuesday, brought to you by the Cellar Restaurant and Six Pack Store in downtown Blacksburg. I am joined by my partner in crime, Mr. Big Nate, and
Your partner in life.
my partner in life, my lovely BB, is in the house because she is the kombucha expert of the three of us. And so, since we are doing dry January, trying to come up with different ideas. This was one that we've thought about. In fact, we were supposed to do this, I think, last January, but then the dry January fell through. But so we're finally doing a kombucha show.
The whole thing fell apart. Dry January.
Yeah, it did. It did. But we're going strong. We're over half. We're over the hump, over the halfway point at this stage. So, BB, how you been liking dry January? We're doing this. I think Nate's it's a pseudo. I think it's an only on air thing. You had that cider hangover and stuff already
Big
this
Nate's
year.
a character. Nathan's a person.
So, but BB and I, we have been doing the dry January. It's actually not been that difficult. I've been kind of liking,
Yeah, I mean,
the benefits.
we're only a couple of weeks in, I guess, but I agree with you. Like we went really hard during December, obviously lots of festivities and family gatherings and nice food and alcohol. So yeah, I was ready for a break from all. I'm feeling good.
Yeah. Well, here we go. So we got kombucha. There's three of us. We got three different kinds. So, you gave me the darker color one. What is this one? Is this a strawberry pomegranate? What is this? What do you
No,
put in these?
So these are my special home brewed kombuchas. I've been doing this now for a couple of years, so I think I'm just about getting the hang of it. So the three flavors I bought today is a blueberry ginger. That's the
That's
one you have,
mine.
Dre.
Blueberry ginger. Okay.
Blueberry ginger. Nate,
It's got a nice pink hue.
that's a nice pink hue. Nate, he has the pineapple.
Oh, pineapple's good.
That's good.
That's good.
I have a raspberry lemon.
Oh, all right. So got a little
So,
variety here.
yeah.
So I know that you've been toying with recipes and whatnot. Are these sort of, I'm assuming since you knew we were doing this show well in advance, are these, you think, your favorite three? Because I know you've tried, we'll mix this with this and whatever. So are these your go-tos, you would say?
They're maybe not my favorite, but definitely my kind of like easy to do, that stuff that we always have just in the freezer, like easy to grab. So these are definitely my kind of like tried and tested ones that always go down well. So
Well, here's the thing. So we have the straight kombucha, home brewed, if you will. Although we were talking about it's actually fermentation, right?
yeah.
There's a difference, isn't there? I don't know.
I'm sure.
I guess it is. Well, beer ferments, but
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd call it brewing. What would you call it?
Actually, they do call it brewing, kombucha brewing.
Okay.
I don't know if that's just a kind of general term, like
Okay.
rather than a more like scientific one. So it's even more appropriate for Brewsday Tuesday.
So, but here's the thing. Now that I think about it, isn't there some alcohol in the fermentation process? So is this technically not dry? Would this have a slight ABV?
So sometimes a SCOBY during the fermentation process can produce a tiny bit of alcohol. But I'm talking like 0.5%
So it's
at the very
along
most.
with like NA. It's
Yeah,
point. Okay.
it's very
Still
low.
counts.
Wouldn't register.
Could be there, but guess what? It's not going to count as wiping off your dry January. You can't have a beer after this because it's all over.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
That was his hope.
So,
Yeah.
so you mentioned SCOBY. For those that know zero about kombucha, I feel like I know a little bit through you, of course. But what exactly is a SCOBY?
I can tell you just that. So a SCOBY is an acronym for a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast.
I did not know that.
And I presume that people call it a SCOBY just so they can avoid saying bacteria and yeast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
People that they want to drink.
Makes it sound better.
SCOBY
Scoby sounds cute.
Yeah, SCOBY sounds a bit
Yeah,
more,
exactly.
inviting and stuff.
Like a little pet or something. So yeah, so kombucha is basically just three ingredients. So it's your tea, and sugar, and then these scobies. And the process allows the SCOBY to transform tea into kombucha through the magic of fermentation. And basically what's happening is the SCOBY, you're feeding the SCOBY the sugar, and it's using the caffeine and the ingredients of the tea to work. And then it creates this beautiful magical kombucha.
So, and what kind of tea do you, I know there's a bunch of different teas, but what do you use for the kombucha process? Or
So-
do you try different ones?
So I have tried different ones. I usually just use black tea, and that's the kind of like the standard.
Does it have a good
Um,
caffeine
Yeah,
amount?
high
Okay.
caffeine, and it's also a really like sturdy tea, so you can leave the tea bags to steep for a long time, and the tea doesn't become bitter. So, but you can also use green tea. Green tea is quite popular. Oolong tea, but you want to avoid like fruit teas and anything that doesn't have caffeine in it. They don't work so well.
Noted.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just let you make the
You,
kombucha.
you're not sold. You're not about to hop onto this process.
I have too many processes in my life.
It is a like it is a commitment. I have my Scobies in my little Scobie hotel, and when we went away, for example, last year, like I had to get someone to babysit my Scobie. It's a living organism, and if
What
you
sort of
leave it,
babysitting was in like you can't leave it for how long, and what do you need to do? What sort of maintenance does a Scooby need?
yeah, so you don't want to leave it for more than say 2 or 3 weeks, and after that, it would probably start getting a bit kind of like foosty. It's eating all the sugar, and it's probably going to go off. So one of my good friends, Carrie, shout out to Carrie, she took in my SCOBY and she drained it halfway through her time away and put in new tea and sugar so it could continue on.
Okay. Well, so this was the berry. Which one did you give me?
That was
This is
the
gone.
blueberry
Ginger.
and ginger.
It was
Yeah.
good. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
like-
The first sip, it really takes you back because you're like, whoa, this is very potent, kind of vinegary and such. But also but as it went, it started to go down easier. Almost got a bit sweeter,
Yeah.
which I guess maybe does how long you let it ferment deviates the amount of tartness versus sweetness? Because you mentioned that the SCOBY eats the sugar. So I guess if you don't let it if you do it quicker and it doesn't have as much time to eat the sugar, it's going to be sweeter when you drink it, right? I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
Exactly.
Is that
And
how that?
that is how that works. And that was the first batch that I made, or like the first one that I started to save. So that one was about 3 or 4 weeks old. So it should technically have been the tartest of the 3 you're
Oh,
going to try
okay.
today.
So it's only sweeter from here out. So, and you mentioned 3 or 4 weeks. Is that 3 or 4 weeks in the? What's the process? How does
yeah,
it?
let's go back to the start.
Okay. So you got a SCOBY.
yeah, so maybe you have a SCOBY from a friend, or you managed to get some tea, like kind of SCOBY tea from someone. So from there, all you need is some kind of like vessel, like a large glass, probably like 1 gallon or around about 1 gallon. It has to be glass. Scobies don't like
Ooh.
plastic or metal because they can kind of absorb, things from their environment around them. I actually got a great container from Walmart. It's like a big kind of like lemonade, like glass lemonade server with a spout on the bottom.
Oh, did you?
Oh, sorry. My lovely husband found that for me.
Yeah. It looked like a good SCOBY hotel.
It did, yeah. And then so from there, you want to boil or have like a like kind of jug of tea, and like very sugary tea. So you want like 1/3 of a cup of sugar at least, or maybe 2/3 of a cup of sugar in there.
Wow.
You let that tea sit and you let it steep for as long as it takes for the water to
Cool
cool
off.
down. And you're obviously mixing in your sugar, so it's nice, just sugary tea water. And then you can add that to your SCOBY hotel, which is where your SCOBYs are going to live,
Okay.
basically.
So how long do you leave that in the SCOBY hotel before you move to the next process?
So you're going to want to leave it in there for at least 7 days. You can do more than that. You can do anything up to like 3 weeks, I think.
And then it'll be super tart.
And then it will get tartar as the time goes on. Yeah. And you know it's working because you'll start to see your SCOBY growing on the top of the hotel.
And a SCOBY looks basically just like a jellyfish or
Yep.
something, right?
Yeah, I could.
So if
For
you're
the
watching
video.
if you're watching on the Facebook or the YouTube, you'll see. So, and this is not even that's not even the SCOBY from the SCOBY hotel. This grows in its own.
Yeah, so
after
you're
you bottle it.
jumping on to the next step.
Well,
So,
I'm just trying to explain to the people because that's not the normal SCOBY.
yeah,
That's
so
not
but
the
it does.
OG
It
SCOBY.
it looks like a jellyfish, for sure. So you've left that for your 7 to 10 days or longer, however long you want to leave it for. And then you can go on to your next stage. And I do want to also give a shout out to Nate and his beautiful wife, Cindy, who really upped my kombucha game last year for my birthday when they bought me these awesome bottles for the process.
With the pop top.
With the pop top, yeah.
I can't remember what were you using before that.
Just like the store-bought, like glass bottles.
Oh, you just kept like reusing.
Yeah, I just kept on using them. But these ones are great because they have this top on that really helps like keep in the carbonation, because after a while these can actually get quite carbonated. I quite haven't perfected that, so I'm not sure that you guys are probably getting a fizzy drink right now.
Well, and that maybe leads
But-
us to the next one. So like you said, the tartness of the berry wasn't even that bad, but this one, which was not the pineapple.
That's the lemon and raspberry.
This one is extra sweet. So was this the one that was the
That's
least?
the least one, yeah.
Yeah, this
had the
one
least
is
time.
noticeably sweeter, and then the pineapple's good. I do like
Oh,
pineapple,
pineapple's so good.
but
Yeah.
That's the only one I've had so
you're
far,
talking
so
about the
I'm like-
carbonation. Sometimes you actually mix and kind of, because it can be really, really flavorful. And so
Mhm.
I see you have some Pellegrino. What is that? Sparkling
Sparkling
something.
water,
So
yeah.
that gives
so
it a little
you
fizz if
can-
you want to top it off with that,
Exactly.
right?
Like, and this is a great way to get your kombucha to last longer as well. Like I'll just basically take half of one of these bottles and then top up with this for like a glass every day. I don't know if you want to add some sparkling water, you might like a little bit better. But yeah, so back to stage 2. So this is like your second ferment. You put it into the bottles, and it'll just be the kombucha water, and then you can flavor it. So for example, you can just throw in fruit. You can also use like herbs, spices, anything like that. I actually like to blend it all up. Like, so I'll put like a little bit of kombucha water with say some strawberry or whatever fruit I'm using and blend it and then add it to the bottles so that there's not like big chunks in it.
So now we were talking about how you've experimented with different flavors and whatnot, and I know you said you can leave it the tea brewing with the SCOBY for 7 days or even up to 3 weeks. So if you're doing a certain recipe, have you noticed like, okay, well with the pineapple one, I only want to leave it in there for a week because I want it to be a little sweeter. It tastes better that way. Or with this sort of adjunct, as we call it in the beer business, fruits, whatever you're adding to it, it'll be better to leave it brewing and with the SCOBY longer so that it kind of accents what the adjuncts that you're using.
I have not noticed that. No.
So you haven't tried to experiment
I
with that
haven't
at
tried
all?
really experimenting that because usually I mean, I'm drinking it every single day. So
Yeah.
it's like, I'm like cycling through like pretty quickly. I want to leave it for at least a week, I'd say, in this form, just so that it can get a little tartar. I like things to be tart. And then you also see like, as DreZ pointed out, that the SCOBY will start growing within this fermentation as well, because it also has the sweet things to draw off, which is your fruits that you've put in there.
So I know that when it comes, you obviously you need a SCOBY to do this process. Would you want to use the SCOBY that was growing in with the fruit, like in there? Like, could you give that to somebody and let them start doing it? Or do you need it to be like a untouched, the grandmother
tea,
SCOBY
yeah.
kind of thing, the one that you have in the hotel that's making the main.
Yeah, you need it to come from the hotel.
So,
And you don't even necessarily need to give someone a SCOBY. You can just even give them some of that water, which has
And it'll
a lot
grow a
of the,
SCOBY,
yeah, like has, I
essentially.
mean, like if maybe you can't see, but there's a lot of bits like floating around at the bottom of there. So you don't need necessarily like the whole SCOBY, but you need water that has SCOBY particles in it for sure.
so
I think Nate, you've been very quiet. I want to hear what your thoughts are.
I'm fascinated because it's something I've considered, not making kombucha, but the process for making vinegar is incredibly similar, and it's something I've considered doing. So they refer to the SCOBY as the mother. I've
Mhm.
wanted to do it because like some people will always gift us wine, and some of them just aren't great wines sometimes.
you just want to
I
let it.
love vinegar, but I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. But it is a fascinating process.
So that's how vinegar is made. Is it the same sort of thing? Is it a SCOBY as well?
Yeah.
And it's just a vinegar SCOBY, I guess,
Mhm.
or it just depends on. Is it the same sort of deal? And then you're just feeding it not tea, but I guess wine in this case.
alcohol. Yeah.
Alcohol. Okay.
It feeds on like the residual sugars in wines and I don't know. Rice wine vinegar is made. I don't know how much sugar there is in rice, but apparently, like even rice wine vinegar is made the same across the board. They just have they refer to it as a mother. You can actually buy apple cider vinegar that has the mother in it, and kind of cheat the system and use theirs that way. But everything will taste like apple cider vinegar.
Interesting. So, and I know that your mother SCOBY was an offshoot of it's almost incestual because you got it from my sister, right?
Yeah, so this Scobies are hardy. Like that's all I can say about that. So I first came about kombucha when I was visiting my auntie in Canada, and I'm gonna say this in the nicest way, but she's a total hippie. So she was like, "Look under my fridge, my sink here. Like, check out my SCOBY." And she fed me my first kombucha, and I was like, "Oh, okay." I really liked it because I love sour stuff, tart stuff. But then when we went on our honeymoon to Hawaii a couple of years later, your sister was also brewing kombucha. We got to spend some time with her, and she was able to kind of walk through the process and really, give me the ins and outs of it. And I was like, oh, I think I could do this. And she very kindly prepared a little glass mason jar with a little SCOBY that she had in her hotel, and it actually survived the travels back to Virginia.
Yeah, and
from
this
Hawaii.
was the start of the Hawaii trip. So she was traveling the whole rest of Hawaii, what, like 2 weeks with this
Yeah.
little jar, with a little SCOBY jar. And then next thing you know, we get all the way back home and it was no longer even in liquid. It was like
It was just
sitting in the jar. And so but it still worked and
It
it's
still
still powered through and it's still going strong. So
I just fed it a little extra sugar, so it had a really sweet first brew to feed
and I
off
guess
of.
part of the fun is you name the SCOBYs, right? So what is its name again?
Well, our first one, I think it was like Obi-Wan the SCOBY.
Obi-Wan SCOBY. And then, because yeah, you said the first one. So you just, I guess once it gets too big, you just chuck it out and then, because then it can make another one. Because
So-
it's still there, like you said, there's still little bits in there that'll
Yeah,
do the trick.
well, so every time you do like a brew, a new layer of SCOBY appears like on the top. So once you get to the stage with me, I'm doing it every 2 weeks or so. Like this SCOBY's like growing.
It's like
Like,
thick.
At one point, my SCOBY was like an inch thick, and I didn't realize it, but
And about like a foot across. It's gigantic.
Well, because my jug is so big, it really was quite big across as well.
Yeah.
And foot across. Yeah, I thought you were being
No,
silly
that's
there, but
accurate.
no,
It
that
was about the
probably
size
is.
of a Frisbee.
It was about the size of a Frisbee. And then I kind of researched it, and I realized that you're not meant to let it get that thick. So then we had the fun of figuring out what else we could do with this SCOBY that had grown, because obviously you don't just want to throw it in the bin.
Yeah,
Poor
you work
guys.
hard on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you do with a SCOBY?
Well, we tried to make SCOBY jerky, and
Oh,
as much as
Our
I
air fryer does have a dehydration jerky setting,
I
so you
love
can make
jerky,
jerky.
but
yeah, no, you're not gonna love SCOBY jerky. It was disgusting.
It was like it was way too chewy. Think about the chewiest thing you've ever had in your life, and it was chewier than
it's
that.
like if you
It
just
just couldn't.
dehydrated the fatty portion of bacon.
Maybe I don't know. It was,
Hate chewy
and there was
bacon.
no good flavor to it.
Oh,
You
no.
tried to flavor it somehow.
I
didn't
did.
you?
I put some Japanese barbecue, like
It
mix
was.
on it, but it was just
We did not eat all of it.
I
to say
don't
the
think we
least.
even got past one or two.
So what's the
bites.
next try for SCOBY preservation?
So people can like
Jerky's out.
they make like little like gelatine sweets out of them. I don't know how. I didn't really research it. You can just eat it like if you want. Like you but-
No,
Like a shot, just down it.
yeah, like
Would that
like
be
an
good?
oyster, maybe.
Yeah, that's what it,
Put
that's what
in
it would be
oyster
like.
kind of thing.
Ugh.
oh no, thank you.
But no, and actually like I felt weird eating it because we had obviously named it.
You
It had
become
been like in
attached.
our house. Yeah, it's like if you get like a chicken and then and then you don't want to eat the chicken. It almost was like that for me.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
can see that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about y'all, but I'm out. I saw you did top it off with the
Mm.
sparkling water, which I guess does help stretch it a bit. But I've downed all of mine, and honestly, man, it's going to be hard to choose a favorite. I'd say that first sip of that first one kicked me back a bit. So, but it did get better as it went. But I between the pineapple and the what was the other one that you had? The
Raspberry
lemon,
lemon.
raspberry lemon. The raspberry lemon might be the best just because it's the sweetest, and I have a sweet tooth, and it tastes. But I love the pineapple. I really do.
Yeah, pineapple always works out well. Like the flavor is always really good, and it's just that's a one ingredient, like nice and easy.
I've been on a weird ginger kick. Like last night, I made these sweet Thai chili ginger steak bowls with like ginger rice,
Nice.
and I don't know. They're all absolutely delicious and refreshing, but I think this blueberry ginger is my favorite.
So that's interesting. Yeah, so that's the
Well, we
oldest one.
we know that you like tart stuff, so we kind of thought you might like that
Mhm.
one the best as well. So, do you? I know it's tough to be your own critic. What about you? Do you have a favorite? Do you like them all? They're all your little children, your Scooby babies.
So I really do like the pineapple. Like I go back to that. Like it's so easy, like time and time again. But my favorite one that I have made is the strawberry basil. Basil. Sorry.
No, you say how you say it. She's foreign. Basil, it is.
And mainly because I was picking the basil from our
It
garden,
was fresh.
so it felt like
And it
really
feels more like you're a part of the process.
exactly. And then when we had the blackberry bush, I also used to make some of the blackberries, and that also felt really, I used to do blackberry mint,
Super
mint
hippie.
and blackberry. Yeah, I was like, this I'm just Mother Nature.
Doing one with it. Well,
No, I
it
feel
is delicious. So now here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. We'll play a song. We'll come back and we are going to do a compare and contrast because these are the homemade kombuchas. We also ran to the store and got some of the I guess I wouldn't say professional. I guess it would be professional, but the big wigs, different brands and different flavors and stuff. So we'll give those a try. As we all know, we usually let the guests pick the song. Have you put any thought? You know that this is the trick. You look like you already knew. You were expecting it. What song are we playing?
I want to play Bad Flower Ghost.
All right, Bad Flower it is. We'll throw a little Bad Flower at you, and then we'll be popping more kombucha on a dry January Brewsday Tuesday right here with 105.3 The Bear. Stick around.